enormously, give them boats, speedboats, warfare boats, and giving them a total security apparatus to cobweb all the problems they're having at the Gulf of Guinea and beyond.
Maritime watchdog, the International Maritime Bureau, says the number of sailors kidnapped in the Gulf of Guinea last year shot up by 50%, with 121 crew abducted at sea, mainly for ransom. This accounts for over 90% of global kidnappings reported at sea. Most of the incidents in the Gulf occur in Nigeria's oil-rich Niger Delta region, considered a bastion for sophisticated pirates. And this is despite the heavy presence of the Nigerian Navy in the waters of the region. The situation has forced shippers in the country to devise their own initiative of protecting themselves from attacks.
These days, there's this we call secure anchorage area. Secure anchorage area is where some group of individuals have taken a decision to man all the Nigerian inboard vessels. And those secure anchorage areas is being organized with them and Nigerian Navy. But you know, it's very controversial now because too many charges are being leveled to all the vessels that are coming. And those vessels are saying that they are putting those charges back to the final consumers of the goods. So it becomes a very controversial issue now.
Sea pirates in Nigeria's Delta region are often well armed, aided by fast boats and a maze of creeks perfect for hiding. They often attack passing vessels, taking sailors hostage for ransom payments. The Nigerian Navy actually stopped some of the attacks, but obviously, sometimes the pirates are just one step ahead of the security agency. Deji Badmos, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
40% of medicines sold in Africa are either fake or substandard. The World Health Organization adds that 900,000 Africans die every year due to fake or defective drugs. The problem is prevalent in Nigeria, the most populous nation on the continent. Experts are calling on the government to put in place measures to tackle the issue. CGTN's Philohaza has more.
The circulation of fake and untested drugs on the streets of Nigeria is rising. This despite government efforts to combat a growing trend for many years.
Experts say one of the major challenges in the fight against counterfeit drugs in Nigeria is the difficulty in differentiating the genuine products from the fakes. Consumers often buy fake drugs thinking they're getting the real thing.
According to the World Health Organization, over 900,000 people in Africa die as a result of taking counterfeit drugs each year. With its population of nearly 200 million people, Nigeria is particularly at risk. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, destroyed fake drugs across the country worth $13 million in 2018 alone. These kinds of drugs, experts say, have an enormous impact on the health of consumers.
Fake drugs are not properly manufactured. You find out they may contain toxic or not so good impurities that will be harmful, can be carcinogenic, causing cancer to people that take it for other reasons. A tablet may have an overdosage of a particular item to a toxic level. So the bad effect ranges from disability to death and so forth.
President Muhammadu Buhari closed the country's borders in August last year to curb the proliferation of counterfeit products, including fake drugs. However, certified vendors in Nigeria say it's time for the government to step up its measures in regulating sales and distribution of drugs in the country.
The best way to get across this problem is to control drug distribution, discourage open drug market, which is the major portal for distributing drugs in Nigeria. Getting a central drug distribution system, national distribution system, state distribution, then to the province and the individual shops of pharmaceutical premises and hospitals can lift their drugs from the province where they find themselves.
For now, purchasing and verifying drugs from only accredited outlets could be the only hope for consumers in Nigeria. Phil Ihaza, CGTN, Abuja.
The Me Too movement has inspired victims of sexual abuse to share their stories, and in Senegal, The country has passed a new rape law that may have come too late for victims, but does bring hope to millions of women. CGTN's Astatal has more.
For over 50 years, rape was not criminalized in Senegal. Instead, its culprits were charged with a misdemeanor. In January, the country's parliament voted unanimously to criminalize rape. Since 2008, Mona Chasarillo has been running a shelter for victims of abuse, rape, forced marriages, and other trauma. For her, the change was a long time coming.
For some years now, I feel women have wanted to stand up to say stop. Because before there was the sutura law, meaning we stay silent so we don't tell. When they used to bring us a girl who's been raped, we had to hide everything, but now we feel that's it. They express themselves, they tell, they know it's not right.
Victims of rape can face backlash for speaking out in Senegal. Their children are often rejected by the family.
It's really hard to suffer a sexual assault, but it's even harder to suffer a sexual assault which ends in a pregnancy. I was really traumatized. I did not want to live anymore.
Those charged with rape will now face a maximum sentence of life in prison. Astatal, CGTN.
1 in 3 women the world over suffers domestic violence, often at the hands of a partner. Ghana is no exception, and women's groups have been calling for changes in the way women are treated. Despite efforts, domestic violence survivors say that they struggle to gain access to the justice system in Ghana, as CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports.
Agnes Mensah is a domestic worker in Accra. She says she suffered sexual abuse at the hands of different employers over the years, forcing her to change jobs several times.
I got pregnant after being raped by my employer. I had to abort the pregnancy.
And yet, Mensah says she never had the courage to report the case. In Ghana, over 71% of women have experienced violence in their lifetime, according to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Esther Kosi is a domestic worker who is also working to get justice for victims and survivors.
They can't speak for themselves. They are ignorant of their rights and responsibilities. That is the whole problem, because they are afraid.
She says there is a need to raise awareness. Some survivors of domestic violence find it difficult to pay for legal fees in order to get justice. For others, there is also a cultural belief that domestic and sexual violence is a private matter that should be addressed outside of the criminal justice system. This means many cases go unreported. Ghana passed a comprehensive Domestic Violence Act in 2007 to protect women and punish offenders. There is also a fund to provide free medical care to victims. But some women's rights activists say it is being poorly implemented.
The Domestic Violence Fund is a provision in the Act, which we believe that if it's fully implemented and rolled out fully, it will address some of the challenges the victims, survivors face in terms of maybe getting money to pay for medical reports.
The government says it is putting the right structures in place to uphold the law. Agnes Mensah says she hopes that happens soon, so other women will not have to endure the violence she and other survivors have experienced. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
All of the business news coming up for you after the break, including East Mediterranean leaders discuss energy solutions for the region. And Kenya now opts for World Bank funding to plug its budget deficit.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that, and you devote it to the energy sector. Problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
Kenya is in advanced talks with the World Bank for a loan of up to $991.5 million. The loan is expected to fund nearly half of this year's budget. The East African nation wants to cut debt from overseas capital markets. The government has been on a borrowing binge in recent years, which included Eurobond offers and syndicated commercial loans. The World Bank is seen as one of the viable alternatives to commercial debt. Currently, the lender has multiple development funding programs with Kenya worth billions of dollars. Last year, for the first time, the bank lent money straight to the Kenyan Finance Ministry. This was a change from past practice where it channeled cash straight to the projects. The World Bank loan will be cheaper than commercial debt, in line with the government's policy of cutting its funding costs. Cairo has hosted the third ministerial meeting of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum. 7 countries from the region attended and several groundbreaking deals have been signed. CGTN's Yasser Hakim has the details.
The forum was the stage to announce that Egypt has begun importing gas from Israel for the first time.
It's becoming exactly after in Israel we finished the development of our largest gas field, Leviathan, and the first delivery of gas, Israeli gas to Egypt, and through Egypt, through the LNG facilities to Europe. This enabled Israel to export its gas, and this enable Egypt and promote Egypt's status as a regional gas hub with very important role in the region and also vis-à-vis Europe.
There was another milestone in Cairo. The members of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum have signed a charter to form the East Med organization.
We launched the forum in 2019, and in 1 year we have now established the Organization for East Med Gas Forum, signed by Egypt, Greece, Israel, Cyprus, Jordan, Palestine and Italy. This might be an intergovernmental organization, but its structure also includes an executive office to coordinate between the members, and the third part is the Consultative Council, comprised of energy and gas companies, whether state-owned, private-owned or multinationals. So it's a comprehensive organization.
The 7 countries have bilateral agreements between each other to export and liquefy their gas. The new organization has converged all these agreements into one entity, thus creating a regional gas coalition.
Today's event is a historic moment for the region of Eastern Mediterranean. All the countries involved in today's initiative decided to use natural gas and energy in general as a catalyst for cooperation and peace, and not as a tool for conflict.
We strongly believe that the East Med Gas Forum, especially as an international organization, it is our belief that this kind of collaborations are a perfect example of how countries in the region can come together, which usually have their differences. It's a difficult region. They come together to collaborate and find ways of how to be more competitive, in this case in the gas sector, for the benefits of their people.
The members are benefiting from the huge natural gas reserves discovered at the Mediterranean Sea recently. This gas can now be sent to Egypt for liquefaction in its energy terminals and then re-exported to Europe. A series of pipelines are now under construction to link these member countries together. Although the organization of the East Med Gas Forum has been established with 7 founders, there are signs that it's already going to expand. France has submitted an official request to be a full-time member, while the United States is seeking to become a permanent observer. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
A move by the West African regional bloc ECOWAS to launch a single currency regime is Suffering yet another setback, resolution reached by Francophone countries to rename its CFA franc to the ECO isn't going down well with several ECOWAS states, especially as countries are yet to meet the necessary criteria that would strengthen the proposed regional currency. CGTN's Kelechi Emeklem has more.
The West African regional bloc, ECOWAS, has spent the past 3 decades aspiring to establish a single currency regime for its member states. Its aim, to foster regional economic integration and boost trade. Leaders adopted the currency name ECO with a plan to launch it in 2020. But countries have yet to meet up with the criteria of attaining a single-digit inflation, a deficit of less than 3% GDP, and debt profile of less than 70% of GDPs. But 8 Francophone countries have moved ahead to change the name of their CFA franc currency to ECO.
WAM's Convergence Council wishes to emphasize that this action is not in line with the decisions of the authority of the heads of state and government of ECOWAS for the adoption of the ECO as the name of an independent ECOWAS single currency.
There are growing concerns on how this move may hamper the progress of the project. Experts say that Francophone countries needed to make that decision in order to free their currency from France's interference as they begin a journey to recovering their economies.
I have to tell you that they are on a sharp end in terms of the macroeconomic management of their economy. They have no control over the monetary policy of their currency since 1945. So for them, it is a fait accompli that by 2020, they will begin to assume control of their own currency. So that is something that they've been waiting for. And they are not responsible for the delay of WAMSI countries from converging on our own currencies.
However, the concerns expressed by Nigerians and others are founded.
What worries people is how, what is going to turn up if France is to micromanage the currency for West Africa. How much of our reserves are going to be tied up in defending this currency?
Nigeria remains the biggest regional player with 2/3 of output. Considerations as to what veto powers accrues to Nigeria remains a big deal for the country. That and meeting up with the criteria to inspire confidence in the proposed unified currency. Kelechi Emeklem, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Business Unity South Africa has hosted its second business economic endeavour in Sandton, Johannesburg. During the meeting, the business lobby urged President Cyril Ramaphosa to grab the bull by the horns and take decisive action in dealing with the challenges facing the economy. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela was there and brings you the following report.
South Africa finds itself requiring bold and decisive leadership that will not make everyone happy. That's according to Business Unity South Africa, or BUSA. BUSA is currently holding a business indaba or gathering in Sandton. Over 400 delegates at the BUSA indaba joined the gathering to highlight a range of critical steps needed to salvage and revive the country's economy. One of the critical issues is the crisis faced by Eskom. Eskom is a South African electricity public utility. The utility has been a bane of the economy and has caused distress for the business community by failing to ensure a stable supply of electricity in recent years.
What we need to do, government, business, and civil society, is create a single, long-term, comprehensive energy plan that is within the direct control of the presidency, which will unlock the potential of the private sector, of communities, and of households to generate and distribute the power they so urgently need.
This indaba takes place at a time when South Africa is grappling with low economic growth, high unemployment, and a power crisis. Small business enterprises were highlighted here as entities that cannot be ignored because of their contribution to the growth of the economy.
Between business and government, we can work together in supporting of SMEs in the industry,
we could also work together in the sound implementation of policy and regulations, because members felt that sometimes it's not so much so about policy uncertainty, it's also about the lack of implementation and the proper implementation of existing policy.
The stagnant economy is putting a strain on all sectors, with retail and mining bleeding jobs. President Cyril Ramaphosa acknowledged all the challenges that the country faces in terms of the urgent need for economic reforms, but he also cautioned that if the structural economic issues are not dealt with, South Africa will be on the same path for a long time to come.
If we are going to build an inclusive economy, we therefore need to restructure our economy, because the current state of our economy is not well aligned with where we want to go. And the sooner we're able to settle down and begin to deal with that reality, the better.
The president committed here to hold monthly meetings with labor and business to continue to seek solutions. Yulisa Njamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Over the past year, Spanish startup Glovo has become a major player in Africa's on-demand delivery service sector. Operating in Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire and Morocco, amongst others, Glovo has joined the likes of Jumia, Uber and Yum to take advantage of an increasingly receptive market for mobile app-based delivery and transport services. Last year, the firm bagged another $166 million in Series E funding. It says it plans to use the money to go fully profitable as a company during early 2021, as it targets regions where competitors haven't already established themselves. Ethiopia's state telecoms monopoly, Ethio Telecom, has reported a 32% rise in its first half earnings. In the 6-month period, the company's number of mobile subscribers rose to about 44 million. That's an increase of around 10.9% compared to 2018. With the details, here's CGTN's Giram Chala.
The 22.4 billion birr, that is about $668 million profit, is not only remarkable but also historic for Ethio Telecom. The CEO Freho Tamiru said the revenue earned is 104% successful, above the intended target.
Compared to last year, we have seen a 32% increase. The telecom density also rose by 8.3%, with mobile voice traffic rising by 22% in the period.
The chief executive officer says the success of the state-owned telecom company is attributed to the massive capacity building work it has done over the past year on its 2G and 3G networks.
To achieve the 22.4 billion birr revenue over the past 6 months, we had to do several service improvement works. In the 6 months period, we have improved our 3G network to serve an additional 760,000 customers, with the 2G networks serving an additional 170,000 customers.
From international telecom businesses, Ethio Telecom has also generated $73 million in this half a year. This has also showed a 116% increase from the previous year. There is more. 3.9 billion birr in tax and dividend were paid to the government in this period. However, there were also several challenges over the past few months.
As Ethio Telecom management, we believe our income could have increased even more if we had not faced challenges like telecom fraud. Repeated theft on our 5 cables and copper cables resulted in the loss of millions. Power interruptions also led to loss of another hundreds of millions.
Ethio Telecom's customer base has already passed 45 million and has aims of adding 5 more million in a year or so time. Despite all of this success, the Ethiopian government is proceeding with the introduction of new telecom service providers into the country. The companies are expected to buy minority shares of the telecom giant in what authorities believe is an effort to modernize it. Still, many experts say Ethiopia must refrain from its partial privatization plan of its telecom sector. They say it's a good idea to invest on it more and more while under government control. Grumtara CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
A brand name and how that directly impacts a company's bottom line is critical. A company in Mexico has decided to lean into the controversial legacy of cartel kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman by naming their beer after him. El Chapo is currently in US custody after receiving a life sentence for drug trafficking offences in July 2019. Although reviled by some, Guzman is admired by others in Mexico for having built a billion-dollar drug empire.
Have a cold one. Have an El Chapo beer. That is the message that a Mexican artisanal brewery wants to give drinkers with the launch of a beer dedicated to the infamous cartel kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
Es una cerveza artesanal.
This is an artisanal beer with 4% alcohol. This prototype is a lager and it's made up of malt, rice and honey, so it's good. And the idea is for it to be sold in bars that stock artesian beer.
Y la idea es que se venda en cervecerías.
And moving away from the brand 701, it is going to be priced at 70 pesos and 10 cents, approximately $3 US.
Costo va a estar aproximadamente en.
The beer is part of the El Chapo 701 brand, a company owned by his daughter Alejandrina Guzman and inspired by her father. The company has already released a clothing line and hopes the beer will get the green light from authorities to go on sale in bars across the country and beyond. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
We are going to a short break. Don't go away. Lots more to come, including floral exhibition promotes conservation in South Africa.
Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Canada, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
In South Africa, the Kirstenbosch Botanical Garden has been inspiring artists for generations. The Cape Town attraction is now exhibiting a series of watercolour paintings inspired by the country's wildflowers. CGTN's René Delcam has more.
The exhibition celebrates the work of the botanical illustrator Lady Cynthia Tate, who left her paintings to her grandchildren when she died in 1962. Her granddaughter, who travelled from the British island of Guernsey to open the exhibition, said she had stored her grandmother's paintings under her bed for 40 years, and they were first exhibited 2 years ago.
To me, it's absolutely magical because I've always known her paintings are beautiful, and it's given me the greatest of pleasure and honour to see that her work has been recognised as spectacular. And it's wonderful. I remember coming out here in 1959-60 and staying with grandmother Cynthia, and we went and collected flowers and picked them and took them back to the house at Lunkety and painted them.
Lady Tate fell in love with the flowers of Kirstenbosch and South Africa after following her British naval officer husband from the island of Guernsey to South Africa in the 1940s. Nature and art lovers agree that it's fitting for her paintings to return to the source of their inspiration, here at the Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden.
The Lady Tate exhibition is considered to be one of the art industry's top events in Cape Town in 2020.
I think it's just wonderful because these botanical paintings are watercolors, almost 65 of them, of a collection of 300 and something, that are now actually part of this collection that are on exhibition. And they prove and show all the biodiversity that grew around Cape Town here on these mountains.
And I know some of the plants that she painted are now on the endangered list, and probably one or two have been lost to cultivation and or may be extinct altogether. So it really is quite exceptional that her pictures from 60, 70 years ago now have been rediscovered for the people here, and taxonomists and for botanists throughout the world, and they are a unique collection.
The exhibition will be on display until mid-March and also includes work by South African botanical artists. Renadal, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
Well, we are going to a short break now. We've got all the sports news coming up, including Tanzanian forward Mbwana Samatta on the verge of signing for English Premier League side Aston Villa.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Tanzanian star forward Mbwana Samatta is on the verge of completing his transfer move from Belgium's Racing Genk to Aston Villa in the English Premier League. He'll be the first player from Tanzania to play in the English Premier League.